It's very hard to dig yourself out from rock bottom in the NBA. Just ask the Detroit Pistons, who have only made the playoffs twice since 2009 and got swept in the first round both times. They've more or less been stuck in the Eastern Conference cellar for a decade and a half with flattened lottery odds. But at long last, their fortunes may finally be poised to improve. Not only did they recently draft a franchise cornerstone in Cade Cunningham, but they've surrounded him with a bevy of other compelling young talents. On top of that, the Pistons have also created a ton of financial flexibility for themselves. Suddenly, there's a bright future in the Motor City for the first time in a long time. Despite enduring another ugly season in 2021-2022, the Pistons are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and a leap out of the gutter is in store next season. The best way to tell if a team is about to take a leap, especially a franchise near the bottom of the league, is to watch for the improvements they make after the All-Star break. Through their first 58 games of the 2021-2022 season, the Pistons went 13-45, good for the second worst record in the entire league over that span. After the All-Star break, however, the Pistons flirted with 500, going 10-14 over their final 24 contests of the season. That improvement showed up in the advanced metrics as well. The Pistons went from 29th in offensive efficiency per 100 possessions before the All-Star break to 24th afterward. They also made a monumental leap on defense, going from 25th in defensive rating to having the 15th best defense in the league post-All-Star break.
Impressive.
That change was sparked by none other than Cunningham. Following a slow start to his rookie season due to an ankle injury, Cunningham eventually showed the Pistons and the rest of the NBA why he was selected first overall in a loaded 2021 draft. Cade finished the season leading all rookies in scoring at 17.4 points per game, while also grabbing 5.5 rebounds and dishing out 5.5 assists. He was the team's primary offensive engine through the second half of the season, and in March became the only rookie since Michael Jordan to average 22.9 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 7 assists in a single month. Not too shabby. The Pistons were a plus 3.4 points better with him on the court on offense and gave up nearly 1 point per 100 possessions less with him on the court defensively. His scoring has been the crux of the Pistons' improvement, and while his shooting percentages haven't been the greatest, with opposing defenses keying in on him alone, he still ranks in the 99th percentile in creating his own shot. According to Cleaning the Glass, Cunningham was only assisted on 28.2% of his baskets. However, the most elite part of Cunningham's game is his ability to create shots for his teammates. Cade ranked in the 94th percentile this season in assist-to-usage rate ratio, a stat that measures how often a player got an assist relative to how long they hold the ball. That's part of the reason why Cunningham has received a lot of comparisons to Luka Doncic. Like Luka, he doesn't necessarily possess the speed or quickness to blow by his defenders and create an advantage. Instead, he uses his brain. He oftentimes is seen probing and manipulating pick and roll coverages to try and conjure up an opportunity for one of his teammates. And while the assist numbers aren't eye-popping by any means, there's a reason for that. Cade passes it to his teammates, and his teammates, for the most part, aren't very good. That's why he leads all rookies in potential assists with 659 this season. Now, I say Cade's teammates aren't good for the most part because there is young talent on that roster that is starting to blossom alongside it. Chief among those promising youngsters is their 3-and-D wing Saddiq Bey. Bey shot 36% from 3 on almost 8 attempts a game this season, a pretty remarkable figure considering how young he is. He hit 5 or more threes 10 times this season. Through 2 years in the NBA, Bey's recorded 23 games with at least 5 3-balls. He's already broken the Pistons' single-season record for most threes in a year, a feat that made The Athletic's James Edward III call him the greatest shooter in Pistons history. And Bey only strengthened his case for that honor when he became the youngest player in Pistons history to reach the 50-point club back in March, making 10 threes and scoring 51 points on the unsuspecting Orlando Magic.
51.
And it's not just Bey that has stepped up his game. Second-year guard Killian Hayes has become more consistent. Their sophomore big man Isaiah Stewart, or Beef Stew as they like to call him, is a prolific rebounder who has recently shown off his ability to shoot the ball. And the team acquired the second overall pick from the 2018 draft, Marvin Bagley, who has developed a nice two-man game with Cunningham. All of those players, including Cade, are under the age of 23. And we haven't even mentioned their leading scorer for the season, 28-year-old Jeremy Grant, who was one of the most highly sought-out players at this year's trade deadline. And while the Pistons' asking price of multiple draft picks and/or prospects was too steep for a deal to happen, he'll continue to be in high demand with only one season and $20 million left on his contract. In addition to that promising young core, the Pistons also have a tremendous amount of financial flexibility this offseason, being only one of 3 teams that will have upwards of $20 million in cap space. With plenty of cash to burn, they can bolster their roster via free agency. And, oh yeah, more young help is on the way too. The Pistons finished with one of the 3 worst records in the league this season, which means they have the highest odds at 14% to land the first overall pick again. At the very least, they'll end up with a high pick in a draft that has been deemed top-heavy. If they select one of Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith, or Jaden Ivey to pair with Cunningham, now that'll be exciting. In a sense, the Pistons are very reminiscent of the Cleveland Cavaliers, another perpetual bottom feeder that suddenly found an identity for itself post-LeBron James, led by their emergent all-star duo of Darius Garland, himself a former 5th overall pick, and Jarrett Allen. But what really sparked a change for the Cavs was the groundwork that was laid this past summer, drafting Evan Mobley with the 3rd overall pick and trading for Ricky Rubio and Lauri Markkanen to iron out their rotation. The Pistons ultimately have the ability to do something similar this summer, with cap flexibility, a potentially high lottery pick, a smart GM in Weaver, and a veteran head coach in Dwayne Casey. Now it's Detroit's turn to take the leap, and with Cunningham as the engine and everybody else playing their parts, the Pistons will be roaring in no time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.